back here tonight to share our story, to share with you how the Cherry Inclusion Program not only guided us through the critical formative years of our son's early education, but how it also shaped the foundation of all of our children's future education. How Cherry not only offered us hope for our son inside of the classroom, but also as our entire family beyond the classroom doors. As I share our family's story, it is my hope to unveil how the compassion and connection of the entire Cherry community helped to foster the much needed courage to help us stand where we are today. Before I tell you about Jamie, our second oldest son and Cherry alum, I'd like to introduce you to Matthew. Matthew is our oldest son. He was diagnosed with a seizure disorder as well as global developmental delays around his first birthday. At the age of 3, very behind his typical peers, the public school system chose to put him in an instructional classroom with 9 other children with special needs. All of these children were nonverbal and lacked social skills, just like Matthew. There were no play dates after school, there were no birthday invitations, and there were no opportunities for us to connect with other families. After a year in the program, Matthew made very little progress. There are very limited school options in the Chicagoland area for children with special needs, especially those that need to have an inclusion aid with them. We basically had 2 options: to keep him at the public school or to enroll him in a therapeutic school that cost more than we could afford on top of all the medical bills, the medication, the therapies that we were already paying. Both did not offer him the opportunity to go to school with his typically developing peers. A friend suggested that I take a look at the Cherry Inclusion Program, a program that not only offers an opportunity for a child with special needs to be educated with his typically developing peers, but also pays for them to have an inclusion aid to help them navigate the classroom. However, at the time, we lived 25 minutes away from Cherry, and at this time, we also had Jamie, who was also diagnosed with a seizure disorder and developmental delays. Between both boys, we had about a dozen therapies and medical appointments on top of school every single week. The 25-minute drive to Cherry seemed impossible. So Matthew remained in the Chicago public school system. At age 3, Jamie was placed in a blended preschool program in Chicago. And although he was in the class with typically developing peers, Jamie was still struggling to be part of the group. After a few weeks, his teacher wanted to put him in the instructional program as well. I knew I would regret that decision, and I called Rhonda at Cherry Preschool. We were at the time, it was the middle of the school year, and we were placed on a waiting list. In May, we found out that Jamie was accepted into the program for the next school year. So the next year, after his morning program in Chicago, I drove 25 minutes to take Jamie to Cherry Preschool. Most of the time, he ate his lunch in the car. Matthew at the time now attended kindergarten by our house, which meant that I would have to drop Jamie off at kindergarten, or Jamie off at Cherry, drive 25 minutes back to pick up Matthew, take him back to Cherry, pick up Jamie, and drive both of them back to our Chicago house. It wasn't easy, but I know it made all the difference. What are the differences? At Cherry, Jamie was included in all classroom activities, no matter what his level of ability. He was encouraged and guided by his inclusion aid to socially interact with his peers. Above all, Cherry honored him for his strengths, rather than focusing on his struggles. For the first time, we felt that Jamie belonged in a community, rather than just trying to fit in. This was evident not only in Jamie's academic and social progress, but also in his medical stability. During the last year at Cherry, Jamie had 0 seizures, compared to 5 the previous year. Our Cherry experience opened my eyes to a new perspective of educating a child with special needs. I learned that educational opportunities are not limited to your disability. Through the monthly support group offered by Cherry for parents with children in the inclusion program, I gained the courage to learn about special education law and began advocating for my own children. With a basic special education rights knowledge, I insisted that Matthew attend our local home school with his typically developing peers. 3 weeks into the program, in the general education setting, Matthew was speaking in full sentences. Matthew is now in the 4th grade, and while he still receives special education services, he attends our local school and spends part of his day with the general education setting. When Jamie's Cherry teachers told me they felt he was not ready for kindergarten, I agreed, and that he could benefit greatly by remaining at Cherry. However, when I took it to Chicago public school system, they ruled that despite teachers' recommendations, Jamie's developmental delays, and his late August birthday, he would not be allowed to repeat pre-K. Instead, I opened up a legal dispute. We successfully came to an agreement with the school district, and Jamie did remain at Cherry. This extra year turned out to be an imperative decision not only for Jamie's future education, but also for our family. During this time, I was pregnant with twins and received the devastating news that one of our twins had a rare condition called fetal hydrops, as well as a heart defect. She was not expected to make it to birth. However, defying the odds, on the Friday of the first week of our final year at Cherry, both of the twins were born at 34 weeks. The Cherry community, teachers, parents, and even the students offered the most compassionate support as our twins were receiving care in 2 separate NICUs in Chicago. All were beyond excited when one of our twins came to pick up Jamie for the first time, 4.5 weeks later. Our other twin had a much more difficult journey. After 2.5 months in the NICU, doctors were 99% certain that she had a condition that was not compatible with life. She was scheduled for a diagnostic surgery the next day. Whatever the outcome, I knew our family was in the best place at Cherry for whatever support we needed. I knew that the teachers and parents would hold us tight and help us navigate the unthinkable. In the end, the surgery that was supposed to confirm a fatal diagnosis ended up saving our daughter's life. Just over a month later, after 120 days in the NICU, she came home and soon made her debut at Cherry Preschool. Not being able to commute back and forth from our house to Cherry, the twins and I spent each weekday morning in the community room at Cherry. A few years ago, I came across the following quote from Joan Ryan. She's the author of Water Giver. She said, "Motherhood is about raising and celebrating the child you have, not the child you wish you had. It's about understanding he is exactly the person he is supposed to be. If you're lucky, he just might be the teacher who turns you into the person you are supposed to be." This is Cherry Preschool, a place that not only accepted my child for who he is, but also honored him for it. So thank you, Cherry staff and the Cherry community, for showing me that I don't need to change my son. I don't need to fix him. I only need to accept him. Today, Jamie is in the 2nd grade. He is reading, writing, and attending regular math class. At last year's Jubilee, I was inspired to share our story this year. Although I still attend the monthly support groups meetings, I thought our Cherry story was complete since we had moved away. But it wasn't. 2 months later, I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. I wrote Rhonda an email to share the news. She always just knows what to say. And I thought I could Again, she could again help us navigate the children through rough water. What I didn't expect was the overwhelming response from the Cherry community, from the families of the Cherry Inclusion Support Group, who brought home and meals to our doorstep. I will never forget opening the door one evening to greet Rhonda and Jamie's former teacher, Kim, hands full with bags of food. Long after our school days at Cherry, the compassion and connection from the Cherry community is shining brightly in our lives. Tonight, we, the Cherry community, have a great opportunity to help the Cherry Inclusion Program continue to flourish by participating in the paddle call in a few minutes. Much of the funding for this program relies on the money raised here tonight, right now. We, all of us in the room tonight, can make the inclusion program for next year happen. All we have to do is to raise our paddle and offer a donation. Remember, any amount makes a difference. It doesn't matter how we get there, or it doesn't matter how we get to the goal. It only matters that we get there. Thank you.